Chapter 23, Chemical and Waste Management. Exposure hazards in the dental office. The dental assistant is exposed to a wide variety of chemicals used for treatment procedures, cleaning of instruments and surfaces, disinfection and sterilization, laboratory procedures, and X-ray processing. The heart, kidney, liver, and lung tissues can be damaged by these chemicals. Result of exposure range from short-term discomfort like burns and rashes to life-threatening conditions, cancer, sterility, and organ failure. Hazardous chemicals, defined as any chemical that can cause a physical or health hazard. A chemical is considered hazardous if it can ignite, react, or explode when mixed with other substances, is corrosive or toxic. Three primary methods of exposure include inhalation, skin contact, ingestion, gases, vapors, and dust of chemicals can cause direct damage to the lungs. Acute and chronic chemical toxicity. Acute chemical toxicity results from high level of exposure over a short period of time. Chronic chemical toxicity results from many repeated exposures, generally lower levels over a much longer time, months or even years. Hand protection. When using chemical disinfectants, wear a utility type glove made from chemical resistant material such as natural rubber, neoprene, or industrial grade nitrile. Latex gloves worn during patient care do not provide adequate protection when one is handling chemicals. Eye protection. Serious damage to the eyes, even blindness, can result from chemical accidents. A variety of safety eyewear is available. The ideal goggles have a soft vinyl flange or rim at the top and bottom to fit the face up snugly. Protective clothing. When caustic or straining chemicals are used, it's best to wear a rubber or neoprene apron when mixing and pouring the chemical. The STS or MSDS for each product provides specific information regarding the need for additional personal protective equipment. Inhalation protection. Masks worn during patient care may or may not provide adequate protection when one is working with chemicals. The proper face mask should be fluid repellent and should provide respiratory protection. Accidents and spills should not be common occurrences. Planning and practice in dealing with such spills should minimize employee exposure to harmful chemicals. Refer to the SDS for the specific product for accurate information on how to manage spills. Mercury spill kit should be available in all dental offices in which amalgam is used. Exposure to even small amounts of mercury is very hazardous to the health of dental personnel. Mercury can be absorbed through skin or through the inhalation of mercury vapors. OSHA regulations require an eye wash unit in every place of employment in which chemicals are used. When turned on, the eye wash unit will irrigate the eyes with a soft, wide flow of water necessary to bathe away contaminants. Employees must be trained in the proper use of the eye wash station, and the unit should be inspected every 3 months to ensure that it's functional. Good ventilation is necessary when dealing with any type of chemical. Many dental offices are equipped with special exhaust systems in the laboratory and sterilization in darkroom areas for fumes and dust. General precautions for storing chemicals. A basic, safe policy is to store dental medications and chemicals in a dry and cool, dark place where they're not exposed to direct sunlight. Follow instructions, avoid exposure to light, always check expiration dates, and rotate inventory. Removal of empty containers. Empty containers may hold residues that can burn or explode. Never fill an empty container with another substance because a dangerous chemical reaction could occur. Follow the label in the SDS for guidance in disposing empty containers. Classification of waste. General waste, all non-hazardous, non-regulated waste should be discarded and covered in covered containers. Hazardous waste is ignitable, corrosive, reactive, toxic, or listed by the EPA. Contaminated waste, contact with blood or other bodily fluids. Infectious or regulated waste, contaminated waste capable of transmitting an infectious disease. Handling contaminated waste should be placed in lined trash receptacle. Receptacle should have properly fitted lid and empty once a day or if full. Never dispose of general waste. Types of infectious or regulated waste in the dental office. Blood or blood-soaked materials, pathologic waste, soft tissue, extracted teeth, and sharps. Containers must be labeled with universal biohazard symbol, and sharps must go into specialized sharps container. Dispose of extracted teeth as regulated medical waste unless being returned to the patient. When teeth are returned to the patient, the provisions of the standard no longer apply. Do not dispose of extracted teeth containing amalgam in regulated medical waste that will be incinerated. Because of the mercury in amalgam fillings, you should check with the state and local authorities for regulations regarding disposal of teeth containing amalgam. Hazardous waste may include toxic chemicals, extracted teeth with amalgam restorations, or other toxic waste. Dispose in accordance with local and state regulations. Once contaminated waste leaves the office, it is regulated by the EPA and by state and local laws. Under most regulations, the manner of disposal is determined by the amount of weight of infectious material requiring disposal. The average dental practice is categorized as a smaller producer of infectious waste. The law requires that the dentist maintain records of the final disposal of medical waste, including documentation of how, when, and where it was disposed. Hazard Communication Program. OSHA issued the Hazard Communication Standard because employees have the right to know the identity and hazard of chemicals they use in the workplace. Hazard classification. Chemicals are classified into categories that compare hazard severity within the hazard class. Each chemical that falls into the same category will have the same label requirements and language. All labels will now include a harmonized signal word pictogram and hazard statement for each hazard class and category. Chemical inventory. A comprehensive list of every product used in the office is required. When a new product containing a hazardous chemical is added to the office's inventory, it must be added to the chemical list, and the SDS for that product must be placed in the SDS file. The manufacturer or distributor must provide an updated SDS when appropriate. SDS contain health and safety information about every chemical in the office. They provide comprehensive technical information and are a resource for employees working with the chemicals. They describe the physical and chemical properties of the chemical, health hazards, routes of exposure, precautions for safe handling and use, emergency and first aid procedures, and spill control measures. Containers must be labeled to indicate what chemicals they contain and any hazards that may be associated. No official labeling system is required, and many approaches are available. Two most important considerations are that the labeling system include all the required information and all employees are properly trained to understand and read the label. National Fire Protection Association has a labeling system that is frequently used to label containers of hazardous chemicals. The system involves the use of 4 diamonds, blue, red, yellow, and white, that are filled with the numeric readings from 0 to 4. The categories are health hazard, flammability, reactivity, and special hazard symbols. Exemptions to labeling requirements contain certain chemicals like tobacco products, wood products, food, drugs, cosmetics, and alcoholic beverages sold and packaged for consumer use are exempt. Dental offices use some substances that may be regulated under federal, state, or local environmental regulation. These materials may affect the wastewater treatment plant or may bypass the treatment plant into the bay, ocean, river, or other waters. Many states require dental offices to have specific types of waste hauled away by a licensed carrier. OSHA and Center for Disease Control and Prevention and the EPA classify sharps as infectious waste. According to OSHA, disposable sharps must be placed in a closable, leak-proof, puncture-resistant container immediately after use. This container must be labeled with the biohazard symbol and color-coded for easy identification. State regulations differ regarding how frequently sharps containers must be picked up. Pharmaceutical waste must be separated and collected for disposal in container that is leak-proof, has a tight-fitting lid, is labeled pharmaceutical waste, and is collected by a medical waste company. Scrap amalgam should be collected and stored in a designated dry, airtight container. Photochemical waste, radiographic fixer, on-site treatment requires installation of silver recovery systems. Off-site treatment involves storing used fixer and contracting with disposable company to have it picked up. Photographic developer products with a high or low pH are likely to be considered hazardous waste and must be managed according to local regulations. Lead foil is easily recyclable but cannot be disposed in the garbage, except from regulation as a hazardous waste when recycled as scrap metal, but it must be recycled through a licensed recovery facility. Small quantities of spent germicidal solution that contain 2% or less of glutathaldehyde can be poured down the drain. Germicidal solutions with greater than 2% glutathaldehyde may need to be managed as a hazardous waste. Check with local authorities on disposal methods for these chemicals. Regular dental office waste should be recycled whenever possible. This includes aluminum, glass, newspapers, fiber, office paper, and mixing paper.